Something is brewing inside Hollis Hall that nobody is talking about publicly, but the whispers are getting louder. Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your ultimate destination for the latest breaking news, insider rumors, and deep dive analysis on our beloved Chicago Bears. Today, I've got information that's going to shake up everything you thought you knew about our current season. This involves our franchise quarterback, our new head coach, and a potential conflict that could determine whether we're building a dynasty or heading toward another disappointment. Stick with me until the very end because what I'm about to reveal changes the entire narrative around this team. Let me start by painting the picture of where we are right now. The Chicago Bears are sitting at 7 wins and 3 losses, which by any measure represents our best start in years. We just pulled off a thrilling last-second victory against the Minnesota Vikings, winning 19-17 in a game that had Bears fans on the edge of their seats until the final whistle. Caleb Williams, our #1 overall pick, orchestrated another comeback, showing flashes of the brilliance that made him the most hyped quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. On the surface, everything looks fantastic. We've got a young star quarterback, a brilliant offensive mind in Ben Johnson leading the charge, and a winning record that has us firmly in playoff contention. But here's what you need to understand about the NFL. What happens on the field and what you see in the win column doesn't always tell the complete story. Behind closed doors, in coaching meetings, in film sessions, there are conversations happening that reveal the true state of a franchise. And according to sources who have direct insight into what's happening around the league, there's a growing concern about the relationship between Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. Not the personal relationship, mind you, but the professional dynamic that ultimately determines whether an offense reaches its full potential or falls short of expectations. Before I get into the specifics, let me remind you of something important. Caleb Williams is a rookie. He's 22 years old, playing the most demanding position in professional sports, facing defensive schemes that are exponentially more complex than anything he saw at USC. The learning curve is steep, the margin for error is razor thin, and the expectations placed on him from day one have been absolutely enormous. We drafted him first overall because we believed he was the answer to decades of quarterback instability, the player who would finally break the curse and lead us to sustained success. That's a tremendous amount of pressure for anyone, let alone someone who's still learning how to navigate life as a professional athlete. Now, Ben Johnson came to Chicago with an incredible reputation. He was the hottest coaching candidate on the market, the offensive coordinator who transformed Jared Goff from a quarterback many had written off into an MVP-caliber player. Johnson's scheme in Detroit was revolutionary. His play calling was creative and aggressive, and his ability to maximize talent made him the most sought-after mind in football. When we landed him, it felt like everything was finally coming together. We had our quarterback of the future and the coach who could unlock his potential. The marriage seemed perfect on paper, but football isn't played on paper, and schemes don't execute themselves. What works in theory has to translate to reality, and that's where things get complicated. According to conversations with coaches from around the league, there's a perception that the relationship between Williams and Johnson isn't as smooth as we might hope. One opposing defensive coach, someone who has studied our offense extensively and game planned against us, shared some eye-opening observations about what they're seeing on film and what they believe is happening behind the scenes. This coach stated that they believe Johnson is frustrated with Williams, specifically because the young quarterback doesn't play on time and doesn't do the things that allow the offense to reach the next level that Johnson is accustomed. Think about what that means for a moment. Johnson built his reputation on creating a system where everything flows seamlessly, where timing routes hit perfectly, where the quarterback gets the ball out quickly to playmakers in space. That's how you maximize efficiency. That's how you sustain drives. That's how you put up points consistently against elite defenses. The coach went further, explaining that in Detroit, Johnson was able to scheme up max protection concepts for Goff and run guys open within the structure of the offense. Everything was controlled. Everything was by design. Everything was predictable in the best possible way. But with Williams, according to this perspective, the offense has become more reliant on all scheduled plays, on Williams extending plays with his legs, on improvisation rather than execution within the system. And here's the critical point. That type of football is uncontrollable for a coach. It's chaotic, it's inconsistent, and it doesn't allow you to build the kind of offensive machine that Johnson created in Detroit. Now, I want to be clear about something before anyone jumps to conclusion. This is one coach's perspective, someone viewing our team from the outside. But it's not just random speculation or hot take nonsense. This is a professional who studies film for a living, who understands offensive concepts at the highest level, and who has no reason to fabricate concerns about our team. When multiple voices from around the league start echoing similar sentiments, it's worth paying attention to what they're saying. Let's look at some numbers that support this perspective. In our victory over Minnesota, our offense averaged just 4.4 yards per play. For context, that's well below what you need to be considered an efficient offense in today's NFL. We won the game, yes, but we won it on the margins, on clutch plays and critical moments, not because we dominated offensively from start to finish. Williams has thrown for 2,329 yards this season with 13 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Those are solid numbers for a rookie. Don't get me wrong, but they're not the kind of explosive production we envisioned when we brought in Johnson to design this offense. Another coach offered a slightly different perspective, one that's more sympathetic to Williams' situation. This coach acknowledged that Williams is still learning how to play at this level, that he wasn't buying into the system initially, and that there's a natural adjustment period for any rookie quarterback. They pointed to the previous week's game where Williams ran 17 yards for the winning touchdown as an example of his ability to make plays that keep drives alive and win games. It's a fair point, and it highlights the complexity of evaluating a young quarterback. Here's my take on all of this, and I want you to hear me out completely before you react. Yes, there are legitimate concerns about whether Williams is executing Johnson's offense the way it's designed to be executed. Yes, there's probably some frustration on Johnson's part when plays break down or when the timing isn't quite right. That's natural. That's to be expected. And that's part of the process of developing a young quarterback. But we cannot lose sight of the bigger picture here. We are 7-3. We are winning games. We are in playoff position. Williams is making the plays when they matter most, even if the process isn't always pretty. The question we need to ask ourselves is this: do we want a quarterback who executes the system perfectly but can't make plays when things break down? Or do we want a quarterback who might struggle with timing and structure, but has the talent and instinct to win games in the fourth quarter? Ideally, we'd have both, and that's what Williams can become with more experience and better chemistry with Johnson. But right now, in year one, we're seeing the raw talent, the competitive fire, and the clutch gene that you cannot teach. Those are the building blocks of something special. I'm choosing to be optimistic about this situation because I believe in both Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. I believe Williams will continue to develop, will learn to play faster within the system, and will eventually give Johnson the kind of quarterback play that allows this offense to reach its ceiling. I believe Johnson will adapt his approach, will find ways to incorporate Williams' improvisational skills into the game plan, and will create a hybrid system that plays to his quarterback's strengths while maintaining offensive efficiency. This isn't a crisis. This is a growth process, and we're watching it unfold in real time. Our next challenge comes against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team with one of the best defenses in football. This will be a massive test for Williams and for our entire offensive operation. How we perform in that game will tell us a lot about where we really stand and whether the concerns about our offensive execution are overblown or legitimate. I'm expecting Williams to rise to the occasion, to show that he's learning and growing, and to prove that he's the franchise quarterback we believe him to be. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think these concerns about Williams and Johnson's relationship are legitimate? Or is this just noise from the outside looking for controversy where none exists? Are you worried about our offensive efficiency, or are you satisfied with winning games regardless of how we get there? What do you want to see from Caleb Williams moving forward? Should he focus more on playing within the system, or should Johnson give him more freedom to create? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I genuinely want to hear what Bears Nation thinks about this situation. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed to Bears News Fan Report and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest content. We're bringing you the most in-depth analysis, the fastest breaking news, and the most honest conversations about our Chicago Bears. Share this video with your fellow Bears fans. Give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable, and let's keep this community growing. We're on this journey together, and I couldn't be more excited about where this team is headed. Bear down.